For February 9th, 2018, we talk about Subnautica, the Red Dead Redemption 2 delay, and we ask you which games you respect but dislike. Welcome to Level 229. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Jala.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome. We're rocking it freestyle tonight. Dennis has not been seen or heard from since. Since.
I put him in the cistern.
Yeah.
I put him back in there, I did it before.
Yeah, he didn't learn the first time.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, this is very strange. So the point of order, but also something to vamp about at the top here. This is the last time we're planning to record on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
we're going to be moving
changes.
So this is for just kind of availability reasons and stuff like that. And people who participate in the multiplayer should know to look for stuff on different days. But for me, this represents something pretty big because even going back to my first quarter when I was doing college radio at UC, that was Tuesday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And then this popped up out of that as I shifted that from being a music show to talking about video games and stuff, and invited you along, Ben, invited Dennis along, invited David. And we just kept it on Tuesday nights because, leave well enough alone. Right.
It's always been on Tuesday? I thought for some reason one time we were like on Wednesdays or something or Mondays. Is that not true? Any kind of absolute statement would end up being proven wrong, right? Maybe the schedule slipped, maybe it was a Thursday for a quarter or something as we shifted around. But in my head, it's always been Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
For me, it was Tuesday.
Even if it was like a Wednesday, it felt like a Tuesday sort of thing.
Because we were together.
I'm just thinking about Raul Julia from the Street Fighter movie.
Yep. But yeah, this is, 11 and a half, 12 years of, kind of shifting stuff around. So I have no idea. Eventually it becomes, you always got to have the ritual, right?
Well, you've also added a girl on the show too, so that's.
Okay, yeah.
I've been around for a while though, but damn, it's been 4 years, man.
Yeah,
4 years.
2014.
Crap.
Yeah,
I've been around.
It flies.
Well, it was the end of 2014. It was the end of 2014 that I popped up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. So
weird.
End of an era, an end of a 12-year era for me.
That is a lot of time.
I know, right?
It almost was a teenager.
Yeah. I lost my job.
Wait.
Yeah, you did. Hooray! I guess. Yay.
Yeah. No, I knew about this last week, but
right.
I didn't want to. I didn't mention it because who knows? I didn't make the announcement. But yeah,
okay.
I got laid off of my job. And immediately fell into doing freelance work for them, doing the exact same stuff I was doing. So that's strange. But yeah, no, it's making a go at doing the independent creative thing full time. So
wait, so they let you go and then immediately ask you to work for them again as a freelancer?
Yeah, I told them. They're like, yeah, we don't have enough work for you to do to be to stay on W-2. I'm like, oh well, that really sucks, but it's not like I didn't see this coming. I'm like, well, there's no sense burning bridges. They're like, oh, well, can I be a contractor? Like, yeah. So, but yeah, I announced that on Twitter, and might as well announce it here because we talk about live stuff. Yeah, this is
I'm excited to see more streaming because it seems like
Yeah, that's something I want to do more of and try and build out that side of the network,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you've been popping up at some weird ass times, and I'm like, what the hell? Is that Kole? It's Kole. It must be Kole. So
yeah, well, that specifically. So the Hexcrank is going to stay on the weekend nights. I wanted to start up a new series because people always like the JRPG stuff, especially on WoW. It's one of the most commonly requested genres. We really don't get that big of an opportunity to do them because of energy reasons and things like that. One a year isn't enough. So I was like, okay, well, I want to play Breath of Fire 3. Jala's been talking about Persona 4, and that's got a lot of, a lot of talk going. Why don't I do this? So I started up a new series called Kole playing games. Like role playing games, but with a K.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
KPGs.
Yeah. And so I've been trying to stream at very weird hours to get a sense for what would actually work for that, because weekend night, you think, okay, like, people are going to be around, they're going to be coming in from wherever they've been, they're going to want to watch something while they're curled up, getting ready to go to bed, still feeling drunk, whatever. Cool. Outside of that, I don't know what makes sense to do. So I'm just trying a bunch. And
Japan time.
if people have thoughts, like I'm genuinely, like, either tomorrow or Thursday gonna be doing something like I'll just start at noon on a weekday and see if I get like people in Britain or whatever, or people on their lunch breaks, or people watching at work. It's wide open is what it is.
Oh my.
Yeah,
that seems cool.
Yep. So it's not just going to be all streaming. I've got to do respectable work, but
you dropped the job, and meanwhile I'm like, add another one on there. I'm working on getting I'm in the process. I'm in speaks for getting a fitness teaching job. So I'm adding more to my plate, not taking away
a whole bunch of upheaval.
Well, it's a transition phase. Hopefully, eventually, I'll shift over, but it'll take some time. So It'll be a bit of going completely crazy if I hadn't already done that. But I didn't run any crazy events this weekend. I mean, I did do a 15 mile long run, but that's it. And then I got my baby bird.
And then 15-mile run.
15 miles is nothing when you run 20 something.
Yeah.
Then you're like, 15 miles is not so bad. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice run.
You said you got your baby bird. Is Mouth?
I did.
Is Mouth its permanent name? Is that the forever name?
No, because he grew into his face, and so like I just call him Baby Bird right now, because like he's a baby to the point that he doesn't know how to sit on a perch really well. So like he was preening and he almost fluffed himself off the perch. And then he didn't realize that he's still not realizing that all perches are not infinite.
Oh, like, so he just the keeps perch on going down.
Well, he gets on and then he keeps on going, and then whoa, shit, like almost falling off the perch because he thinks it'll keep being there and it's not there.
It's ridiculous.
So he's really cute, and he has no idea how to climb around in the cage, and so like he's just now starting to figure out some stuff. Like I put a bunch of toys and a bunch of different types of perches in his cage with like a little ladder from the very bottom. So if he gets stuck at the bottom, he can climb up the ladder. And it took him a while to figure out the ladder too. And he was screaming for help. It was just the most terrible thing ever. He's like, help me. But I can't just pick him up and move him to a perch. Otherwise he'll never learn, you know? Right. So
there's to be some struggle.
So he's got to struggle through, but he's picking it up really fast, which is good. Like he's starting to get around and get the hang of some stuff, but he's not very coordinated because imagine a toddler, and that's my bird right now. So he's like
you shared a bunch of pictures of you and him, and my favorite is the one where he had figured out how to grab your earring, and I was like, that's good.
Yeah, but there's for Ben's sake, I'll drop this in there because I don't think he stalks me on social media, but I posted video of very contented BB, and then also just very cute fluffy BB. He's very cute. It's very sweet.
That is a very, very fluffy little animal.
He's fluffy. He's very sweet.
I haven't seen a bird with that type of coloring before too, so that's pretty cool.
Well, he's cute because he's got a stripy butt. Like he's dominant silver is the type of mutation for his coloration. It's a mutation because the average coloring is of course like the gray with the yellow and bright orange cheeks, but his mutation is a dominant silver, and he's got a stripy back end, which is pretty great. I think I like it stripy bloomers. It's pretty great. And Yeah, he's very cute and very sweet. And normally you can tell which one's male and which one's female by how bright the cheek spots are. But because he's a white-faced cockatiel, he can't tell anything. So he actually had to be DNA tested, and we know it's a boy. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that is an adorable bird.
He is super cute. And, it's funny because, like, I kiss him and I hug him, and he just does not give a flying fuck that I'm doing these things. Like, he is just, and then what's funny is anytime I pet him, he just suddenly is like, my feathers are all rumpled, and now I need to preen.
What the hell is this?
Them. Yeah. What is this? Like, my feather is wrong. You put my feather wrong. When did you do that for, Mom? Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Ben, how about you? You have any stories over the past week?
I got a story for the upcoming week. I organized the second game of Twilight Imperium, so we're gonna play that this Sunday. So it's gonna be the same group of people, so we can see if we can play it quicker than 6 hours this time. So.
Oh, and gotta give a shout out to Charles or Vader, who was gonna be donating a book to you, a rule book to you.
Oh yeah.
And he lives in Wellington, so like he's going to be mailing it from fucking forever far away. So it'll take a while to get to you. But he is
Wellington in Australia is Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So
I'll have to look into what the shipping cost of that was and reimburse him or something.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So
nice.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That's like it's like a deluxe rule book or something. Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Nice. Yeah, well, you have to let us know how that goes. Have you actually finished a game of Twilight Imperium, Ben?
Yeah, so we played one in January, and we did it on a Sunday as well, but we had it was before Martin Luther King Day, so it was still like weekend for us. But yeah, it went from about like 9:30 a.m. till about 6 p.m. or so. So it was pretty good. We had a break in there, but yeah.
Leisure activities shouldn't start at 9:30 a.m.
It's fun. I've done some D&D draftings like that. You feel like a kid, like waking up early and like, yeah, I'm gonna go play a game. Like, I don't know.
I'm like half kidding at that. I understand.
It would be annoying if you had to do it all the time, but like, it's a cool combo breaker.
It's like, oh, this is a special big day.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that if I could ever get back over to Cincinnati and have a bunch of people over at the same time, and we all just hang out at Cole's place.
Yeah,
I already invited myself over, by the way.
Okay, that's fine.
So
I told you when you left you could come back. Like,
yeah, well, there you go. Don't tell me that. I'll be on the doorstep just like the FedEx package.
Wait a minute, is that the
door.
doorbell ringing? You're fast. Yeah. Yeah, so we've got the three of us here. We've got the usual kind of show otherwise. The brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. And why don't we get started with the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games. Ben, yours seems pretty simple and pretty quick. What's going on with Red Dead?
Yep, Red Dead got delayed to fall of 2018. They said that they
surprising no one.
Yeah. They said they couldn't make the spring 2018 release. They needed to polish the game some more. And as a way to kind of apologize to the fans, they released screenshots of the game, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
gotta say, this is some of the most impressive arm hair I've seen in a video game.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lighting looks really good. The horses look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a good play on their part.
Well, that's
soften the blow. Yeah.
It's very strange because Rockstar is a company that generally has almost always released stuff in like May or June. Like they are outside of like San Andreas or whatever. Like their big release window, is that late spring, early summer. So that's
they're also a company that used to release a game every year, and they stopped doing that as well.
I know, right?
This will be their first game in 4 years or so.
Grand Theft Auto 5 was 2013, so yeah.
Man.
Yeah, they make more money than God, so they can afford to do that. So yeah, it's a good call. I mean, they don't generally have a great reputation for shipping products that are like super stable right at the start. Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, they haven't done a very good job at shipping multi-platform either. So for them to understand that more time is good is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. any more about Red Dead Redemption 2? I have nothing really aside from like, oh, that's a game I know is coming out, and I'm just staying like low level, like a hum of excitement, as opposed to being like, going after every detail.
That's all I have for that story. I have another small story I could throw in too.
Yeah, sure.
Do it.
The other one is they announced that they're going to do COD Blops 4 this November.
Whoa.
That's going to be the next Call of Duty game. And then kind of the more interesting part of that announcement is they're going to release it on the Switch as well.
Huh.
So that'll be, I think Switch said that they were going to do multiplayer sometime in like August, I think. So this will be a few months after that. So that'll be kind of interesting, but probably not going to get it, but it's interesting.
I mean, somebody's got to try it. Like they put out Doom for Switch, but it wasn't really reviewed that well. I'd be curious because that reminds me of when Activision would put out like the Wii version of Modern Warfare, which was really stripped back and used the system's the system's gimmicks.
Yeah. They the same article I read about that said that there were a couple of releases of, I think, Call of Duties for the Wii U, but yeah, they seemed to all be kind of ho-hum. So
yeah. Huh. Well, maybe it'll work. I like seeing stuff. I like seeing any third-party stuff on the Switch. So
I just like seeing COD Blops, so I can look forward to that as well.
I like being able to say that, to wheel that one back out. Yeah. What's this, Jala, about video game hearing aids?
Yeah, so like this is kind of some interest to me because my dad is hard of hearing. So this is a thing. So basically 15% of Americans report some kind of hearing difficulty, usually with trouble understanding conversations in a noisy environment. And hearing aids amplify the noise, but they don't parse out what's going on. So like, they can boost the sounds of your conversation, but also the noisy environment. So that doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
Neuroscientists have found that the problem isn't that they can't hear the sounds, it's that their brain basically can't pick the conversation out from the background chatter. They can't discern the difference between the two.
Right.
And this is one of the first things that breaks down in hearing loss from normal aging or ADD or ADHD, autism, or dyslexia. So,
or I mean, like chronic hearing loss, like people in the military have like a ton of that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And people who, and this is important because people who have hearing loss are more prone to suffer, social isolation problems because they can't interact very well. Depression for obvious reasons, and dementia also as a result of not being able to hear properly. So a group of audiologists are testing a game that works kind of like Hotter or Colder, where a player is tracing shapes on a tablet and they get constant auditory feedback on how they're doing in headphones, where it gets louder if they are hotter and then, quieter if it's colder. And they have to parse that particular tone out from static noise in the background. And as the player advances through the levels, the static gets louder and louder, and they still have to parse out the hotter or colder tone.
Oh, so is this is this like a way of calibrating the frequency response on the ear on the
kind
hearing
of
aid?
Yeah. And so basically practice is necessary to make that work. Basically, if you don't use your ability to perceive things, then you lose that ability. And that's that's generally with aging, and with not even with aging, just in general, like when you don't use a thing, you lose it over time. It just decays and breaks down because you're not doing anything with it. So players that did this game showed 25% more word and sentence parsing, and that's 3 times more of a benefit than just a hearing aid alone.
Right.
The game group also showed improvements in speech understanding, even though the game involved only a nonverbal cue, like a nonverbal tone.
Right.
But their speech understanding, went up also, just because their brain was able to parse things better, even if it was an abstracted thing that they were tuning into.
Separating signal from noise. Right.
Yeah. So So that's pretty interesting to me. And I unfortunately I know my dad will never play a game and dedicatedly work on trying to get his perception up so he can hear anybody. He's never going to do that shit. But like, you know, it may run in the family, and if I start going deaf, I can play a game. You know, like that'll help. So
it's the least controversial cliche that I always repeat, but like this stuff is important because anybody is one bad day away from needing it. So yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is just, I know this has nothing to do with like, you know, the awesome releases of video games and what's going on in the industry, but like, you know, this is my ongoing fascination with, you know, the different uses of video games out in the world to help people in some way, shape, or form. Like that stuff is always fascinating to me. And, you know, that's why this was a thing that I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And I had not heard about that yet. So got to mention it.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
That's smart. Yeah. I mean, I haven't read the article in depth. I'd be curious. So, like, there's the idea that you are training your own ability to, again, perceive signal from noise. I wonder if there is something where you're actually training the hearing aid to better match your strengths and deficiencies.
That would be probably the next logical step after this, for sure. You know, like that would definitely. Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I've lost this particular frequency range, or like, man, I have so much trouble. So this is a common thing, but like so much trouble understanding my younger female relatives, right? Just because their voices fall in that, like, just a way to improve that kind of symbiosis between them, right?
Yeah. And that would be a natural extension of this, and it may be a thing that's already in the middle of being done. I don't know. I don't believe that article has that particular thing about like using it in symbiosis with your hearing aid to that degree, but I mean, if
a dummy like me can guess at that usage, then somebody smart probably has. So
yeah.
So neat. Yeah, this stuff is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've got a small one here that is nowhere near as socially impactful as that, unless you believe that art can change global thermonuclear politics. Okay. So, I mean, like, your thing was nice,
I'm
Jala.
listening.
Your thing was nice, Jala, but I think that Hideo Kojima has a real chance at solving this whole nuclear weapons thing. So... background information on this. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, has a multiplayer mode where you're invading each other's mother bases, like their crazy oil rig bases, and it plays in with the troop recruitment. You set guards and things. At a certain point in the story, you get the option to arm yourself with a nuclear weapon. Okay? Doing this causes a huge morale hit. It changes the game, but like this puts you into like a more hostile PvP kind of sorting. You know, and along with that, they put in this kind of special event or the special ending that happens when every single person who plays the game has disarmed their nuclear weapon. Okay, every single person on a particular platform. So like this is something nobody was ever going to see. They data mined it. People data mined it to actually see what this is, and it's a bunch of speeches about nuclear weapons and our responsibility to pass our knowledge on to the next generation, et cetera, what you would usually expect. However, big thing here recently where Konami has no idea why this scene was triggered for everybody who played Metal Gear Solid 5 on PC.
But it was.
Yeah. So like people would just load this up, and this event that has no realistic chance to trigger just pops up, and like, oh wait, did everybody disarm? That's kind of weird. I wasn't paying attention to that. No, because it's impossible, and Konami has no idea how that happened. If it was an error on their part, if it was somebody exploiting the system, stuff like that. There's a problem with hacking just in general on the game on PC. People like boosting their stats and things, but like this goes beyond just like one person juking their own status, right? So the one person the one person at Konami who has the login password for the game servers for this I really screwed the pooch on this one. Yeah, they weren't paying attention.
There's that juking word again.
Yeah, so I said the word juke on a stream in relation to like playing a survival horror game and like where you move in one direction to like trick somebody into going that way so you can go around them. I said like, I juked them, right?
You said it, and then I had just either heard it on a podcast where you guys were talking and you used the word again, or it was somebody else talking in the Slack. I don't know, but I heard it like 2 or 3 times back to back, and I'm like, what in the ever loving hell? I have never fucking heard this word in my life. What are you talking about? Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Like I don't. I'm like, what? Okay. And out of nowhere, it just pops up like multiple times in a row, like an hour. And
Blue
then
juke
like
syndrome.
Yeah, like okay. Anyway,
no, you raised a huge ruckus about it, but yeah, it's a fun.
I always raise a huge ruckus about everything.
Yeah,
I am a walking kerfuffle.
Yeah, no, it's a football thing, and I know nothing about football, so.
You know some things. You know juking.
I suppose.
Put him on the field. You're ready, Cole.
Some kind of like, I was about to say some kind of King Ralph situation, but for football. But no, I'm describing The Replacement starring Keanu Reeves.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask the listeners a question. Jala, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
I asked, what game do you respect more than like, and why? And thanks to Corbin for the question.
Thank you, Corbin. And this is as good a time as any to remind people that look for these on Mondays now, at least until further notice, right?
And if you have any questions you want us to ask, please to send them to me, and I will put them in a giant list that I will pull from.
Yeah. And I will start here with John, a.k.a. Secret Squirrel, who says, any 2D Super Mario Brothers games, and then he has a little emoji here, runs and hides. But in all seriousness, the 1 to 2 hit deaths, not to mention the pits in those games, always frustrated me to the point of losing interest. They are extremely important technically and culturally, but they never clicked for me. I would be very curious how old John is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he's even 5 years younger than me, I could see him being dyed-in-the-wool on 3D platformers on Mario 64 as opposed to Mario 3, like I was. No, such a thin line. But yeah, coming out with a controversial one right at the start. Ben, what does Greg say?
Greg says, gotta state an unpopular opinion for this group and say the Dark Souls games. At least we mentioned the Dark Souls games already. But I've tried to play the first one a few times and always bounce off of it due to high difficulty and the gameplay mechanics. It's a shame also because it's a game I should really like, as I enjoy other games of a similar type. It's put me off from trying the sequels also.
What's interesting to me, though, is that like the gameplay mechanics, like I had no problem learning the mechanics of the game when I was playing it. So like I'm curious what mechanics he's talking about that are throwing him off. I just want to know. I mean, like, you know.
Is it something as fundamental as just, the way this feels doesn't jive with my internal rhythm, right?
Yeah, it could be something like that.
Yeah,
it could be like the realism of like the swinging of the swords with like how accurate the hitboxes are. That's like pretty non-standard, I think, and I think it's something that you can appreciate, but maybe might throw you off if you're not used to that.
Yeah, or especially if you're if you're into something that's kind of faster than that.
Yeah,
faster
like
but also
Halo
looser.
2, where your swords lock on.
See, like I'm being given a Switch. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I don't know if I didn't know that last week.
You mentioned this like over the
last
weekend.
Week. Okay, that happened over the weekend. But anyway, I'm going to be given a Switch, which is awesome. And anyway, like, so when I'm playing Dark Souls on my Switch, because I will be doing that.
In May, yes.
I'm gonna obviously have to re-roll my character. I was playing a sorcerer with like a scimitar and like medium armor because I can't stand as slow as the heavy weapons and stuff go. But like, you know, where I stopped was like Copra, and obviously a scimitar is not good for that that plays. I had to switch to like a rapier or something, and I don't like the rapier, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with it when I re-roll it. So
I mean, you'll bang your head against it until either it or your head gives. So
or I get bored and wander off again, and that's the end. Whatever.
Yeah.
So,
it'll be portable. So the odds of that, you just went through 100 hours of Persona 4.
Oh, I know, like,
basically powered solely by a grudge. So
well, it's a lot easier for me to stick with a game when it's portable. So yeah, there's a higher chance of me actually finishing that and moving on and actually beating the game this time.
Yeah. Jala, what does Sam say?
Sam says Baldur's Gate and that entire style of Western PC RPG. I love hearing about them from their fans, and they always make great WoF episodes. Whenever I try to play them, however, my brain always parses everything like it's electric football. To date, I've tried a good number of those games, including a couple of the modern ones, and the only ones I managed to finish are Fallout 1, Planescape Torment, Knights of the Old Republic 1, and the main campaign of Neverwinter Nights with a bunch of cheat codes in the last chapter or two. I'm glad this genre's made a comeback, but it'll never be for me. Yeah. I can understand it. I get it.
Yeah,
so.
It's it was difficult for me, and for me especially on WoF, having Gary along, like, that helped carry it through, because like, oh yeah, well we're just gonna do this because he really likes these. I was kind of in a similar boat. Like, yeah, I didn't play a lot of these when they were contemporaneous. So I just don't have that kind of like baked into my bones. It's a very weird analogy for that. I eventually got over that hump and started, being fine with it. But yeah, like, I don't like, it makes perfect sense for somebody to like go into Fallout 1 or 2 after having played 3 and be like, oh, this is the interface and this is a hump.
Yeah.
But like, it sounds like you finished good ones, like Fallout 1, Planescape Torment, Coder. Like, if those 3 didn't instill in you a love for the genre, then like you done your due diligence, man.
Right. I loved Planescape Torment, as everybody knows, and so I also loved Numenera, and like I tried what is it, Pillars of Eternity. I bounced off of that.
Yeah.
That did not interest me whatsoever. Sorry, I interrupted you, Ben.
No, I was going to say, nostalgia got me through Knights of the Old Republic's controls, so I can relate to that being tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny writes, honestly, Tekken. I get that it's one of the huge deals with fighting games and is still probably one of the best 3D, meaning not stuck on a horizontal plane, fighters out there, but I just don't care for it. I respect its legacy, but I'll stick to my good old 2D characters. Wait, what's that? Good old quotation characters. Oh, okay. There we go. Sorry. I'll stick to my good old 2 characters that will never know the sweet embrace of the Z-axis fistfight to the death in a dark alley style games.
Yeah, I gotta admit, like, when Tekken was first like a thing, I was just like, eh.
Yeah, I mostly played it in the arcade. What bothered me about it was the distinction between left and right attacks on the punches and kicks. Like that, that to me is like just completely foreign compared to weak attack, strong attack. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the rhythm of Tekken was always a little bit too slow for me. Like I took more naturally to Soul Calibur, not even just as like a button masher kind of thing, but just because like fluidity of motion is important to me. Yeah,
and definitely like Soul Calibur was more my thing than Tekken for sure. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Ben, what does Ethan say?
Ethan says, Link to the Past is a game that I loved as a kid, but have trouble going back to these days. While it created much of what modern Zelda is today, or was, given how Breath of the Wild has changed things, some mechanics have aged poorly. Several items are little more than keys to new areas, such as the Titan's Mitt and Zora Flippers, or are largely redundant, like the medallions. The later Zelda games do a much better job of giving you items that unlock the world in more mechanically significant ways.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. I get it's hard for me to get jazzed about going back to Link to the Past. I fired it up on my SNES Classic and I was like, oh, I've played this game probably 3 or 4 times now, and I've played this game, let's say 6 or 7, 10, however many times I played any Zelda that came after it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, see, for me, I played the old NES games, the old NES Zelda, and then I played like some of the GBA games,
Mhm.
and then I ended up getting an SNES. Like I got an SNES like at a weird time, way past its expiration
Prime.
date,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and so like I went back to Link to the Past way the hell afterwards, and I was like, it never sunk in for me either, to be honest. And like I played it and it played fine, but like I didn't have the nostalgia factor and I didn't play it in its day and age. So, it just kind of didn't jive with me in the same way as it does for a lot of other people.
Yeah. I played it in its day and age. I'm hesitant because in my mind I have so much more affection for the Game Boy ones, Link's Awakening and then the Oracle games.
Yeah.
But it's been forever since I've gone back to them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could just be the same situation over again. I don't know if I want to do that to myself.
What's funny for me is that like the one that I play the most of is the original Zelda, the very first Zelda. That's the one I play the most of if I boot up a Zelda game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jala, what does Ragavan say?
Ragavan says, many older games that I just cannot play because the bus has passed for me, like Ocarina of Time. I picked that game up recently for 3DS and put it back down near instantly, but I do have massive respect for it. Fighting games occupy a similar space because I'm just not good enough at the execution of inputs, but I still get goosebumps watching the Daigo parry.
What's the Daigo parry?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
Who can Google the quickest?
Yeah.
I'm not even trying. I figure somebody else will do it.
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah, this is somebody playing, I think, like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike or whatever it is. And it is some kind of this is way too long, but somebody like blocking 31 attacks in a row.
Yeah.
It's a
Cool.
This was at Evo.
Evo 2004. Yeah.
Mm.
I've seen that.
Okay.
You need to listen to it with the sound on or watch it with the sound on because the announcers are the best part. Then just not even comprehending what it is that's going on.
And a room full of people going apeshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, what does or no, that was Jala, so this is me. Franz says, The Witcher 3. I acknowledge all of the things that it does right, but I always get frustrated by Geralt's inability to turn on the spot. Needing 15 minutes to navigate through a bloody door makes me rage quit every time. Oh, you don't need to you don't need to exaggerate. You can just say it doesn't feel good. You don't have to say 15 minutes.
That is all right. Franz is in my camp. I am okay with this answer. I have not played the game, but I support you.
No, it's fine. Just...
In your hyperbole, I support you.
Yeah.
He flips tables with me. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean
flip them back and forth.
That is a line of discussion that happened a lot when we announced we were going to be doing The Witcher 3. Was the people who just can't brook its the way it feels.
It's table pong, like the Pong video game from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Only we're flipping a table back and forth.
Yeah. Ben, what does Michael say?
Sorry, I'm trying to imagine Jalapong, where it's two people flipping a table back and forth to one another. Michael says, Destiny 2 for me. I think it's very fun and beautiful gameplay experience. Unfortunately, it doesn't tick my personal checkboxes for weirdness, build diversity, or mechanical complexity. I'm glad it's been successful, and I'm overjoyed my friends have so much fun with it. Keep fighting, Guardians.
I like how he's all like inspiring speech for everybody to like keep going. It's okay. Power of friendship is a wonderful theme, and that's great. I love it.
You friends.
Yeah.
I imagine if you're.
Come on! I was really hoping you were going to say "you do you, boo," but you didn't.
I'm
sad.
I don't say boo.
I don't say boo either, except when I'm saying that. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
wow. You too?
Yeah. I find it hard to imagine Michael having room in his life for both Destiny 2 and Warframe.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like the meme is like, "Lol, he plays so much Warframe," but like honestly, like they satisfy very similar, very similar places. So
it's kind
curious,
of like yeah.
Oh, I'd be curious if Michael has the same complaint about Destiny 1 as well.
Yeah,
he will let us know, I'm sure.
Yeah. Let's see, Ben. What does Juan say?
Juan says, the end is nigh. I respect that the developer tried branching out from previous game styles, and it still has his flair on it. But I played a couple hours on Switch and just wasn't having much fun figuring out the split-second timing for each of the platforming puzzle. Just didn't have the same gratification as Binding of Isaac. We'll try again soon.
I wasn't aware that this game existed.
Well, now you've got to go look at it.
Yeah. Nope, it looks like a follow-up to Meat Boy, is what it is on the Switch. Makes sense. Jala, what does Graham say?
Graham says, similar to Sam Bear, a lot of computer RPGs. I just don't like D&D fantasy, so I bounce off of those games most of the time, but hearing passionate and analytical fans talk about games like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale is always a treat.
Thanks. But I feel like people are walking on eggshells saying like, oh, whole months of watch out for fireballs don't apply to me. Like, no, you don't have to feel bad about that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I listen to Watch Out for Fireballs when it's a game that I have no fucking interest in playing whatsoever, just because I like listening to you guys talk about whatever the hell it is that I'm never going to play. And like, I may have not even ever seen the box art when I'm listening to this, episode that you guys do about it.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same camp. I'll listen to stuff about things I will never play. But then also there are times where it's something that, I listen to you guys talk about, but then I end up playing it, like Call of Cthulhu and Planescape Torment, for example. Back when I had more time in my life years ago, when those were like first released, that was back when you guys were in the teens in your episodes. Like,
yeah,
been a while.
Planescape was 17 and 18, and Call of Cthulhu was 3.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu was one of the first ones.
Yeah, so. Those were the days.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
No shit, dude. Have I known you that long? Damn.
It's been a long time. Let's go one more time around. Mike writes, Dota 2. I occasionally enjoy watching the odd match, and I love the idea of this game as a kind of sport. However, the prospect of sitting down to play while getting screamed at constantly by the worst people in gaming, and let's face it, that's really saying something, couldn't be less appealing. They have to default voice chat to off, right? Like, I know Riot turned like everybody chat, like, just the, hey, let's talk to everybody in the game chat off, and that improved the player behavior problems. Like, voice chat has to be something you opt into. Otherwise, that'd be madness.
I think it's similar to like the game design with Journey, where they're like, we want to figure out how people can communicate with one another, but it be constructive. So we're just going to not let people talk to one another.
Okay, we're going to have them communicate like birds.
Yeah.
Jala, what does Jonathan say?
Jonathan says, I sometimes replay old games that I like. Sometimes they don't live up to the memories. I respect what they used to do for me. System Shock 2, Baldur's Gate, all the Heroes of Might and Magic, and Morrowind. Yeah, I can definitely say if I go back to Morrowind now, it'd be like a way rougher experience. Like my memory of playing Morrowind was magical and cannot be replaced, but to go back and try to play it now, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
So
I was happy that it held up for me, honestly. Like, I didn't play a bunch of it. I didn't beat it back in the day when I had an Xbox, but like I played about 20 hours of it. And
oh no, I played the shit out of that game back in the day.
I was very pleased with Morrowind, and I still some days think like, man, I never beat those expansions for that, and I'm sure that's actually really good.
Yeah.
I'm sure those expansions are really good.
Yeah, the X packs are good.
Yeah. And then finally, Jala, what does Lindsay say?
Didn't I just read one?
I believe.
Okay, I'll read another one. It's fine. Lindsay says, Dark Souls 3. While it got something right, I think, I dislike it entirely. It tried to be Bloodborne in the fighting mechanics, and the difficulty was harder. FromSoft lost what made Souls the perfect game, in my opinion, and put out a game that told more of a thought than a story, which was the big reason I was into the series. Maybe I'm wrong and nitpicking, though I stand by my thoughts for Dark Souls 3, and yes, I have beat the game. I respect what they tried to do, but they ruined the story and gameplay.
You don't have to convince me, man. Like, yeah, I agree. Let's do ours. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody. For me, I would have to say Dwarf Fortress, which is a game whose the things that have come out after it, your Prison Architect and your Rim World. And you can go listen to the Abject Suffering about Dwarf Fortress to, get a more long-winded version of this. Like, I love the idea of a complete simulation like that, something massive and sprawling. But just a combination of the, again, the interface and the pace of play and the fact that I've just gotten so used to the things that came after it are like, oh my gosh, I love the idea of this and I love the stories that come out of it. Playing it is something that I just cannot see myself ever having the time or energy to like get over the hump. So like that is the epitome of respect but can't stand. Respect but can't stand touching. There we go. Ben, how about you?
I think mine's going to be Zelda Breath of the Wild,
Ooh.
which is, I know, right? Like, I mean, I'm still midway through the game and will continue to play it eventually. It's a game where it's like, I respect a lot of the mechanics of it. I appreciate like all the thought that went into the game. I just kind of went in expecting it to be a Zelda game and it was something different. So that was kind of, I don't know. That's on me though. That's not really on the game. So
you had a lot of affection for 3D Zelda as it was before Breath of the Wild though. Like,
yeah, I really like Twilight Princess and I really like Zelda 64. So
yeah, that makes sense. And then Jala, how about you?
Okay, I'll say Rocket League and Overwatch. Mostly because they're just not my jam.
Fighting words.
Like they're just like, I can recognize that they are good games. They are just not my type of game. And that's about it. Like I don't have a nitpick about them. They're not mine. They're not my type.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not you, it's me.
I don't think I would ever force people to play like games that I like or like I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you do that to people you like or games that you like?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you everybody. Again, if you want to participate in these, watch for those to go up on Monday afternoons. Facebook.com/The Level Podcast. Thank you, Corbin, for suggesting this question. We got a lot of good answers out of it. It's a good question. And thank you, Jala, for posting it.
Yeah, and thanks to all the people that we didn't get to. Sorry, guys.
The grind. Now it is time for the grind, where we talk about the games we've been playing over the past week or so. Jala, you've finished Persona 4?
I fucking finished it finally.
Good.
Oh my god, it was a nightmare.
I was just about to say your nightmare is over.
So you remember how I said I was at the final dungeon? Well, it wasn't the final dungeon. There was another final dungeon after that one.
God.
So yeah, because of this, after I beat the final boss, I was just dumbfounded because the game fucking kept going. There was like another 20 minutes or something of the game where it just kept on going and just trying to wrap up like all the stuff that happens in the town that doesn't have to do with the dungeons and the TV world and the whatever. But oh my fucking god, I wasn't actually convinced that it was really over until it took me back to the title screen. I didn't believe it until it was like literally at the title screen
You're
again.
at the title screen and then you're like you just reach for the power button and then you hear a voiceover like, wait a minute. Oh no. Get everybody back together.
Yeah,
Going
right.
back in.
No! Yeah, it's 95 hours. 95 hours, guys. I don't play any game that long. Like again, when I was reading off my top played games on Steam, it was like 200 hours for Resident Evil and then like 100 hours for Skyrim, and then it was like 40 hours for the next game after that. Like I don't play games for that long. Like Skyrim, I will tell you, Skyrim is because I played that game when I was going through physical therapy for 6 months and could not train even to do yoga, could not look down to read a book or draw. The only thing I could fucking do was look straight ahead. So, like this is from my spinal stenosis. So like I was playing lots and lots of Skyrim.
Right.
As a result of that. So yeah, like that was an extenuating circumstance. The only game I have played that much has been Resident Evil 6. Everything else, and that's because I play it with people a lot. Everything else is like way under, it's like 20, 30 hours tops.
So
95 for this game is unheard of.
You're done with marathons. You're starting to do video game marathons now.
Yeah, right. What is this shit? I'm so mad. Okay, I'm not going to be doing any more like this again. It's like for a while.
So I mean, I've gotten in trouble for asking you this question before, but why?
Well, at this point, because I've said it before. I still say I land on the side of liking this game in the end. However, it just went on for so long that like I went through the love-hate relationship with it a few times.
Right. We talked about like how it has enough mechanics that like when you got bored of one thing, you could just get invested in the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I was at the very end of the game, and I'm like, I just want to see what happens. And here's the thing: I'm glad I did, because at the end, I actually ended up liking several things that they did with the storyline. Marie, the character that was added in Golden that I totally hated, and I've been hating this entire time, and I've been nearly flipping a table about her since I first saw her. She ended up being actually all right at the end of the game. Like I did not hate her anymore at the end of the game, so that's cool. But yeah, like I can't obviously talk about the twists and turns that happen at the very end of the game, but there's a couple of points in the game where just like it throws you for a loop. Like you think you know what's going on, and then actually no, here's the real villain, and then it reveals again. No, here's the real villain, and you're like, okay,
that
really?
Sounds like Atlas to me. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. But anyway, some other things I wanted to talk about with the game though. So personas, the persona names, I mean, not really like their designs, because their designs, like Thor is wearing a battle thong, like whatever with that. But they are drawn from myth and folklore. Like, they have folkloric creatures and gods and goddesses. Like you can have Ganesh and Lakshmi and Thor and Odin and all this other stuff as your personas. And although I should have guessed when the main character gets his starter persona, I actually didn't anticipate that the final fight, and this is not a spoiler because like these are just like the personas that are fighting, that the final fight would be Izanami versus Izanagi from Shintoism.
Okay.
So like I'm gonna presume that people don't know the story of these two characters from Shintoism, these two deities. Izanami and Izanagi are the creator goddess and god, and Izanami died while giving birth to the fire god after being totally scorched because fire god.
Right.
And from there, with Western listeners can think of what happens as kind of like a mixture of Persephone and Eurydice from Greek myth.
Right.
Izanagi goes to the underworld to bring Izanami back to the land of the living, but Izanami already ate food in the underworld, and basically they had to work out a deal where Izanami could return to the land of the living, but only if Izanagi refrained from looking back at her as he left the Yomi. And he was impatient, and he turned around and he looked, and this is the part where it gets horror and shit. Like Izanami, he turns around and sees her, but instead of being like a ghastly shade, she's like decaying and filled with maggots and shit. So he just gets completely terrified and like runs the fuck out of there. And like he's getting chased by other entities of the Yomi, and she's pissed off because now she's stuck decaying and stuff in the underworld forever because he couldn't wait to turn around. And he ends up sealing off the entrance to the underworld with a giant stone, and that's how the end of that story plays out.
Okay.
In the original myth. So the main character's persona is Izanagi, which is the dude who turned around. And the final boss is Izanami, who is in the game like depicted as this big blood red skeletal creature living in the world of shadow. So I mean, like there's really loose interpretations of what's going on, but it's kind of cool. So yeah, so that was a thing, and that was kind of interesting that to see that as the end fight. But yeah, the game ends up treating several of the usual themes. Power of friendship, of course, is how you get back up after the big bad smacks you down. And the entire game is about growth. I actually like how they treat it, even though it makes a lot of crap decisions. Like I've been bitching about how they treat Yosuke and Naoto, and even Yukiko to some extent. The characters like those characters, they were on the edge of like having, I guess, controversial character development. Like one of them really comes across as being like transgender, but then they back the fuck off of that, and then another one was gonna be gay, and then they back the fuck off of that, and the other one was gonna leave her family's business and stuff and move off to the city to go live her own life, and they back the fuck off that. So
so in a game about growth, nobody really changes. Yeah,
well, they change, but they don't change in ways that are controversial to the societal expectations of, like what is normal for, I guess, Japan. I would assume. So
that's very strange, given that what I know about Persona 5, which is it very much is about young people chafing at the expectations of society.
Well, and the thing is, these are all young people chafing at the expectations of society too, but then they end up like falling into it and just being complacent with the society pretty much. So like, I mean, I don't like that. And from what I have been told by people who are big fans of it, that is really just because of the developers, like the publishers' stipulations.
Right.
So they were going in that direction and kind of pushing it there, but then had to back off of it because of the publisher.
Huh.
So anyway, like in my head canon, things work out differently, and I've rewritten the script a little bit for these characters and let them breathe a little bit, let's say.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of the game, the characters though have changed quite a bit, and they recognize they talk about the things that they've had to come to grips with about themselves, and like parts of themselves that they don't want to have to deal with, and they want to just try to hide or deny as part of them. And it's really cool. I mean, like even the dungeon boss battle music, it's called I'll Face Myself, and that's the whole theme of the whole game.
Right.
So yeah, but at the end they even talk about not wanting to look back and hover over what used to be, that they want to move forward together in their own ways, and like still be friends and stuff, but like not reminisce about the old days, but like make a real new life for themselves and grow.
Right.
So yeah, like I ended up liking it. I ended up liking the ending themes and stuff, but holy fuck, like pacing was a little janked in there for sure.
Yeah.
And there were some things it was far too long. It just felt like it was taking 100 million years because it took 95 hours. So I'm going to be taking a break from very long games, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway. Line up a couple of 3-hour experiences.
Yes. I actually have a list that is like all these random games in my Steam library that are like one sit down, or maybe 2 sit downs, and I've got like a list of howlongtobeat.com, responses each of these. So
I need to just make it so that when I open up a browser window, it's just a 50-50 chance whether it takes me to Google image search or to How Long to Beat, because those are the only 2 websites that I visit.
Yeah. So that was the first thing that I finally finished. I finally finished it, and I'm happy that I did. And I will say this, of a bunch of different JRPGs that are in my memory of having been played in quasi recent history, which is not very many because I don't play these very long JRPGs often. I used to fanatically all the time. It was almost the only thing I would play for a while, but I got out of that, This one has more progression. Like it's uncommon to see this much progression for each of the characters. Every single one of the characters has development to them. Usually it's like a stagnant thing where one character develops and the rest of them are stuck in a rut, and they are just like archetypes, Yeah. Whereas this one, they're all changing. Even if it's just a little bit, they are all still changing somewhat, to some degree or another, some more than others.
Right. Well, I'm happy that you came away with something to pull from it, because otherwise that would be ridiculous that you put 100 hours into it.
Well, I mean, like, I never quite, the thing about it, the weird thing is that I never quite got to the point of wanting to actually flip a table, although I got frustrated a few times, you know, with
leaned a few
things.
tables.
Yeah, it like, you know, like I set the game down for like a couple of months because I was just like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't. And, you know, but I got back to it and I finished it, so it's cool. So that was the first thing. I got one other game. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not very exciting. So I played Creeping Terror. I'm not done with it. I don't know if I will ever be done with it. I'll explain. So it's basically a generic Japanese horror game set in the US. It's on the 3DS, and it released October 31st of 2017, so it's not super old. You play as Arisa, which is a Japanese exchange student who goes to a creepy mansion with some of her friends because one of the dudes that she knows has a YouTube channel about spooky stuff, and he wants to film her walking around in the mansion talking about the spooky stuff so he can get hits because he's got a cute Japanese girl in a scary place. So, and that's literally what they say in the game. So, yeah, so anyway, Arisa gets split off from the rest of the group when she falls through the floor, and that she ends up falling, I don't even know fucking how far, but down into a mine shaft somewhere.
She falls into Silent Hill land.
Yeah, well, she falls into Resident Evil 6 because, you know, like, they have that university, and then suddenly, like, you're in a fucking minecart wonderland fighting Booby Lady. I don't even know where the fuck... Like, I have this impression the Japanese devs just think there's mines underneath everything in America, like with mine carts and shit, because, like, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is like, you know, here's another one with fucking mine carts and weird shit like that in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's just... okay, like America, the mine carts. Like, how does that even equate? Like, I don't get it.
It's also ridiculous, and sorry to make this about Resident Evil 6 again, but those are ruins. Like, there are ruins with statuary and stuff like that. Like, no, that's Europe. There's
people in armor in there, Cole.
There's what?
There's people in armor in the Resident Evil 9.
In the ruins?
Yeah.
It looked like it's like, you know, the Indiana Jones ride at the fucking, you know, like, whatever. It's stupid. So anyway, yeah. So they do a poor job of building atmosphere. None of the characters don't seem to care. Like, none of the characters seem to care about anything. Like, Arisa falls, and who knows how far she's fallen, right? And she should, by all rights, be dead. And she wakes up, and she's like, that sucked. Where's my cell phone? Oh, cool, it's all right. I mean, you know, that's my paraphrase, but that's pretty much what she...
That can be effective, though. Like, I really enjoy when there's an underreaction in a horror thing. Usually it's stuff that takes off of, like, David Lynch kind of stuff. But think like Deadly Premonition or like Silent Hill is all that, where somebody just does not react the way they ought to.
You can go look at the beginning of. You just go watch it. On YouTube.
I intend to, because I was not aware of this game, and it sounds like something that I would be very happy to be upset with. So.
Okay. All right. Well, at least you're honest. Hey, you would be both. Okay. So so far, all I've done is wander around and scare bats by throwing rocks at them. And then I got chased by, I guess, an 8-foot-tall zombie miner, but he has a shovel, not a pickaxe, so I don't know why he's in a mine exactly. But anyway, he's like his shovel is larger than my character. And so I don't know where the fuck he came from. He's just like a giant shovel monster man with a hat. And so anyway, like I got chased around by that, and I'll explain why that's irritating in a minute. The movement is sluggish as shit. You walk at snail's pace, so you have to hold the R button to run constantly. And for some reason, when you're being chased, like you have infinite stamina when there's nobody else on screen chasing you. But once the shovel dude comes, oh man, you can only run for a few seconds, and then you have to like stop and walk. And then like meanwhile, he's beating you with his shovel, and you have to like off and lose a chunk of health. So that's why
that's how adrenaline works, right? Freezes you in your tracks.
Opposite way. Yeah, sure. So yeah, anyway, the art is pretty good. It just doesn't stand out in any way at all to me. And I'm thinking that the mechanics are probably going to remain really simplistic and repetitive. And it just kind of like looks like a rhythm is being established. Like I'm walking through these halls in this mine area, picking up items to open up other doors, and then running into homie every once in a while. And then the way that you have to go is always past where the monster guy is,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, I want to go to the place that I saw the monster again. I mean, that sounds like the best idea to me.
Right.
So whatever. And the best part is, How Long to Beat doesn't even have an entry for this.
No, this seems like way too small for that.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm gonna assume that it's a short game.
Yeah,
because
this has, so there's a Steam release of this, which is interesting. There are only 3 user reviews for
it. Okay.
Which is absurdly low.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. Nobody's played this game. I don't know.
How did it catch your attention? Like, did somebody mention it to you, or?
Well, I think I was just like wandering around in the 3DS like Nintendo eStore or something, and I was just like, I just want to find like a small, inexpensive game that maybe is something I want to play, because Nintendo games are so fucking expensive. So like, I don't know, let me look around. What the fuck is this? Okay, I'll try it out. Well, I tried it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like I might play more of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't feel enough about it, but I don't know that I've played enough. Like, maybe there's something more to it that I'm missing, and I'm, gonna miss out on something cool. I mean, like, it's not terrible. It's not, like, oh God, this is a terrible, awful game. Why am I playing this? No, it's not like that. It's just like, it's not catching for me yet, Games
like this often have kind of just completely batshit, like, final thirds.
Yeah,
that's usually where a lot of the effort goes.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, okay, that's why I'm wondering, because if it's not that long of a game, which I have this, I don't know why I have this impression that it's not very long. Maybe because the premise is so fucking simple.
Well, I mean, it's also a 3DS eShop game for $7. So
so I mean, like, for that, like, I'm not assuming it's going to be very long. So I mean, I could probably get to the end of it if I want to see if it's got anything cool in there. Right. So. I don't know. We'll see. I might just close it off and never play it again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jury's out. But anyway, that's a thing that I played on 3DS.
The Creeping Terror.
All these generic ass games, like generic ass names for games. You notice how, we should take a poll of how many different like titles of games I've brought up and just like count how many of those are generic fucking. They're all, a lot of these are so generic names.
Yes. The threat over there.
Yeah.
Ben, how about you? What you been playing?
So I got to I streamed The Witness again this weekend. So that was fun. Just kind of, I think we're gonna try and 100% the game. So we'll probably take another 2 or 3 more sessions to get it done. I think we're about halfway there. So yeah, that was a good time. There's a person who came by the chat who's a speedrunner for the game, who has the world record for any percentage completion of it.
Okay.
So that's a lot of fun talking to some people like that about the game, since they know a lot about the game as well. So that was fun. Like, they'll mention things like, oh, this is the only puzzle that has 2 negations on it in the entire island. And it's like, oh, I had no idea.
That's great when you get people who know more than you in a chat who can help you out.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So I'll probably keep doing that. And then the other game that I've been playing, which I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, is I picked up Subnautica, and I've been playing that. That is a lot of fun so far. So I really like that. I played that a lot over the weekend.
Give me the rundown on Subnautica, because I'm very curious about this. I'm hearing about it all over the place.
So the premise of the game is you crash land on an ocean planet. You're in this giant ship. You go on an escape pod and fly out of it. So your escape pod's kind of like your home base. You can jump out of it anytime and go in the water and swim around and stuff and see the animals and the plant life around there. Your only point of reference, since it's ocean planet, is you can see the downed ship, maybe a mile away or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that's the game. That's all they give you at the start. And so it's just do whatever you want, swim around if you want, do whatever. It's completely open-ended. They start to give you some direction via there's a radio in the pod that you're in, and so you'll hear broadcasts of people like, hey, we crash landed here, come help us out, or something like that. And you might go to these places. You don't find any life though. Everyone's dead pretty much. That part's kind of grim. But so the game itself in proper is kind of like a base building, tech building type game, maybe similar to Factorio, where except without the mining. You're doing the mining by going around and picking up all the pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, what you do is you gradually just kind of go out on expeditions from the pod that you're in to try and find resources that are around the game. You have a limited amount of oxygen. You can start crafting things like air tanks so that you have more oxygen. You can start crafting tools that make it easier to traverse the water. You can start building like your home base, which is like kind of like a space that you can actually like live in and like navigate and like grow food in and stuff like that. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's a very like empowering type game since you kind of learn all the mechanics and sort of master them gradually over time. Yeah, I don't know.
God, this is a fucking gorgeous game. I never looked up video or screenshots of it. Wow.
Because I'm not sure who makes the game. I was under the impression that it was like an indie developer, but yeah, the game looks very attractive. Like the water effects are great. Yeah.
It's the same team that made the Natural Selection games. Started out as modders for the original Half-Life, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, like those are like multiplayer, asymmetrical kind of combat games.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The environments are really pretty. They're pretty. The wildlife is pretty like original and diverse, and they have like good gameplay mechanics to them as well. Like where they usually will try and teach you one or two things. They do a really good job of like showing the difficulty of the area you're in by the tint of the water.
Oh, nice.
So if it's blue, it's like calm. If the water looks really green, which is usually like a lot of plant life, that's like medium. And there's a few places that are like irradiated that are like red and brown.
Wow.
And they're terrifying. I saw like this giant like shark that was like huge and started chasing me, and I like hightailed it out of there as fast as I could. But like, it was terrifying. And so that was one thing that early on in the game is if you like are kind of like afraid whenever you're swimming in the ocean, this game will give you a lot of anxiety early on.
So to me, this sounds like it has taken the premise of Gary Paulson's book Hatchet and the young adult survival story and mixed it with that feeling you got when you played Mario 64 and the eel chased you in the underwater level.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. You basically only have your wits about you. They do a good job with world building. They do a good job. It has like a really good story as well. Like they have good twists, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say any of them because it's not worth it. So, but yeah, I'm currently at a part where I'm kind of like blocked where there's like a mission that I need to do, but I need to go a certain depth. And the only way to do that is you need to have a certain thing. So I'm trying to find that thing.
Well, that looks like a better game for me to play than the one I was trying with Abzu and failing.
Oh, yeah.
Some more teeth in this one.
Yeah, there's more stuff to do, so maybe I would be more excited about it.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun. The only downside is they don't really explain like how all the tools work and everything. They just kind of let you figure it out.
That's like a plus side to me. Like I'm
sure. Yeah, some people might like that. It might be good to have a Sherpa. So if you do start playing it, I don't know. One of my friends back at my old job recommended this game to me, and so he watched me play it a couple of times and offered a few pieces of advice that was helpful. But yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'll definitely continue playing it. Hopefully I'll be able to get over the current hump that I'm at and keep going. So,
yay!
No, I'm very happy that you like this. This game is exciting, and for me, it came out of nowhere. Yeah. Oh, there's a before I play for Subnautica.
Building the bases is so fun too. Like one of the problems is like the only source of power for bases is solar. So if you just have like one solar panel, you'll have power during the day, but then as soon as it gets dark, you can't do anything. But like if you build like enough like solar panels or enough things, you can eventually build up power so that it lasts overnight. And that's like such a great feeling to like have this like little warm home base in the middle of this like cold, dark ocean. That's scary. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And you can design it yourself. So it's like that part's fun. And yeah.
Cool.
I'm very curious about this. Wish listed.
Yeah. definitely recommend it. I think it's been a lot of fun so far. So
right. Is that all?
Yep.
Cool. The question came up when you were discussing this. The person who holds the record for the any percent on the Witness, how long is that run?
I think it's like 15 minutes.
Okay. I feel like
it's,
any percent in that kind of game seems like it would be that. It would be absurdly short like that.
Yeah, because all you need 7 lasers and you need to go down to the mountain. Like that's the only part. Like there's a lot more of the game besides that, but that's like the definition of beating the game.
Right.
So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and do mine. It's not going to be too terribly much, so sorry if this episode is shorter than usual. Yeah, so I've been spending a lot of time playing Zelda Breath of the Wild because we're doing that for so yeah, I really took it personally when you didn't like it.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, dude.
And we're going to be covering that in depth on Watch Out for Fireballs at the end of March, so don't want to burn that much cast on it. I'm enjoying it greatly. Like I've just kind of like set it to be my mission to get to every single tower to uncover the entire map.
Yeah.
Which is serving pretty well. So I'm like, I've just got like one corner in the upper, like in the northwest that I'm trying to get to, like a gigantic plateau.
A couple of them are gated too.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing my damnedest to just like climb on places that I don't think I should be able to climb.
Okay. Do you have dominance over temperature in the game so far?
I have an especially cozy shirt and some peppers I can eat.
All right. That'll do it.
Yeah. So not much more needs to be said about that, but like I've just been sinking quite a bit of time into it. I started Monster Hunter World, but didn't get an awful lot into it. Like I'm like in the tutorial that was just earlier today that I fired it up. So expect that a little bit more later. That's a fucking gorgeous game.
Everyone's pouring a lot of sugar on it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are.
I'm pretty jazzed about it, actually. It's looking forward to having something like that to dive into. Something a little bit bigger.
Do you have a group of people to play with, or do you know anyone else who has it?
I'm gonna jump into whatever the Duckfeed group is, honestly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice.
Yep. Yeah. Dragon Ball FighterZ continues to be fun, goofy, dumb as shit, but still visually stunning, and it makes me feel good to play a 2D fighting game and do kind of okay at it after several years of just kind of like not playing anything in the genre. And at this point, I really don't care if that's because the game makes it too easy or not. It just feels especially good.
Why are you getting all defensive, Cole?
I don't know.
It's okay. You enjoy the thing. It's fine.
Yeah,
you don't have to call it a stupid, dumb thing, and it's okay.
No,
it is fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. No. Like I'm calling it stupid because the story's dumb. And like that's the thing. Even people who like that world, they will say it's dumb. They like it because it's dumb. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I saw a comparison of the original anime series with the cutscenes or whatever from the game, and it was a pretty neat little comparison, side by side comparison of different scenes from the original story. So
it's really impressive.
I'll have to find it so I can share it.
Yeah, I don't know how many more miles are left on those tires. I may reach a point just because I'm not really that interested in playing online with people where the fun just runs out of it here shortly, but like it's enough for me to fire it up and play like 2 or 3 maps in the single player and then go on my day. Right?
Seems like it could be a good game for Duckstream too.
Oh yeah. Just because it's so fun to look at. Yeah. And then go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, you found it. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of streaming, I've finished streaming 2 things. So over the course of the past 2 weekends, I fired up and played Silent Hill Downpour on Hexcrank Live. And then, like I said earlier, I started streaming Breath of Fire 3. Man, the story in Silent Hill Downpour is as good as I remember. Like, it's kind of cool that they hit that and did it so well. The play doesn't hold up at all. Oh my God, it's dire. The combat in that, and I'm not normally the kind of person who's like, oh, the combat doesn't feel like that. I can suffice with a good amount of jank, like that. That can wiggle a lot more for me than it can for a lot of people. That got in the way a lot, to the point where it's like it almost like ended my run a couple of times where I was like, yeah, just go watch the story bits on YouTube, I guess. Yeah.
My favorite part of the stream was proving that you were a good person by you did the bad ending and you got an award for it. So it showed that you had not done it before.
I didn't do it specifically for that reason. I thought that I had, it's a thing that I do with these games. I'll play them and get every ending because I want to see, just what the experience is, what that says about the characters and stuff. Yeah, no. So like when that little trophy sound came up, I was like, huh, wow, I guess I really didn't do my due diligence with this. Yeah. So still conflicted on Downpour, honestly, just because the play is so bad on PS3. I haven't played it on 360, but technically it's really a mess. Like frame rate drops down to like single digits, oftentimes when action is going. Area transitions being really weird, cutscenes loading up and like going 30 or so seconds in without the textures loading, stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Or you get the low res version, so it's a bunch of blurry Ken dolls screaming at each other. Yeah.
Well, see, I only popped in and out for your Downpour thing because I was just like got tired and would just go to sleep. So, like I missed whatever the fuck was going on most of the time. It's like I pop in, I see part of the beginning, and then I disappear for a while, and I pop back in, and then some radio guy was going through his thing, and I kind of liked that guy for the time he was on the screen anyway, and then he disappeared, and then I don't know what the hell happened, and you're fighting a void and running, screaming. The scream was ridiculous. Oh my God.
Those otherworld void pursuit sections are really good, and they're really good because they're pulled almost entirely from a much better game. Like those are just straight lifts, gameplay wise, from from Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and like it's good and cool, but it's way out of place in this more traditional kind of Silent Hill game.
I didn't realize that they made Downpour after Shattered Memories.
Yeah, Downpour was 2009. Shattered Memories was 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And no more after that. Weird. And then Breath of Fire 3 continues to be charming and fun. Although, man, missing your attacks in a JRPG, a turn-based one of that era, is one of the most frustrating things possible. Especially when it puts you into a dungeon where your weakest character is alone, and the majority of the enemies that you fight are tiny little acorn men who have what has to be some of the highest evade in the game. I counted it on fighting one nut mage. I missed 4 times in a row.
The old tricky nut mage.
Yep.
Like where my brain went to is just wow. Yeah. All right. Anyway,
a testamancer.
Yeah.
A dusty corner of the fantasy realm.
Yeah. But watch those. I'm putting those up on YouTube. They're a little bit more heavily edited than the survival horror ones, just because those games get repetitive and I want to show the cool stuff. But yeah, just want to use a little bit of my time to build out the video stuff. Let me know how people like that. Both you two here, because you are often in the audience, but also people listening. Like, is that a cool thing that you enjoy, or am I wasting my time?
I don't ever watch any video of anything. If I'm not in the chat actually able to get responses from people, I wander away.
No, like you watching the streams live is definitely a part of the video thing. Like that's part of it. Like if people, I know
people are probably sick of hearing. And then Jala came in and yelled about this thing.
But yeah, that's what's been going on. I've got a lot of stuff on deck and a lot of things that are just kind of shaken loose. Yeah. Who knows what I will do next horror-wise? still trying to figure it out.
Not creeping terror.
No, probably not.
No.
There's some stuff that probably will take precedence.
Just do Subnautica.
I'm real tempted. Your description of Subnautica makes it sound very much my kind of shit. It's been a while since I played a survival game like that.
Spooky plus crafting.
Yeah. Damn. Oh well. But that's everything. Do you all want to button it up?
Button.
The credit.
Cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Once again, want to remind you, if you participate in the multiplayer, watch for those on Monday afternoons and early evenings now, as opposed to Tuesdays. I don't know how much more I can say it or make it clear. Just, yeah. Do it then instead of the other time. Otherwise, we really appreciate you participating. If you get an opportunity, please leave a rating or review. It's been a little while since we've had one of those, and those do help us out. Also, consider going over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv to support the network, and also, tell your friends. All that usual stuff that you hear about all the time, like rate, review, subscribe, blah, 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 whatever. It works. Saying it works. I feel ridiculous. Again, I'm defensive. I'm sorry. I'll get off my heels here.
Thanks for all the bits. Thanks for the donos. Thanks for the sub.
Donos, really? Do people say donos?
Yeah, some people do.
Oh no!
What? No, don't do that, please.
Did I forget anything?
No.
Okay. So I've been Kole Ross. You can watch my streams on Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I am Jala-chan in places.
I am Ben Merkel at Merkleby on Twitch.
And stick around for some titles. So I opened up Steam to put some Subnautica on my list so I can get a discount alert. And since I started doing Hex Rank again, the suggestions have started getting getting better. Like just it'll drop a bunch of horror stuff in here. However, I'm not going to click on it because that will make it seem like I want more of this. It is showing me what appears to be a horror themed My Little Pony game called Delirium, D''Lirium. Looks like a top down like game maker kind of tutorial kind of thing. I'm like, no, I want to know more. I'm morbidly curious, but there's no incognito mode for Steam. So but
why don't you just go look it up in Google and do an incognito window there?
But it is $1.99. Yeah.
You need it for your life. Cole.
No, I don't. I really don't. Because if I buy it, then it's going to happen.
Well, you need to stream it if you do buy it.
Titles.
I only have one because I was terrible and didn't write anything down.
Okay.
All I got is Testamancer.
I only have one as well. I have something I'd be very happy to be upset with.
I have blue juke syndrome and a walking kerfuffle.
There's no overlap.
None at all, and that makes it hard. Do we want to do a good old fashioned? I'll just put it in the. I'll do a vote.
Sure, throw it in the vote. Let
Okay.
the people have the power.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I will do that then. Cool.
The power to change things, but not really, just like Persona.
I mean, it was going to be one of the four. We're not like just taking suggestions. Yeah.
Like I said, the power to change things, but not really.
Cool. Freedom with constraints. Cool. Well, I'm going to go read about this Delirium game and watch YouTube videos because it looks too good to ignore.
I'm watching a video on Subnautica right now, and it's showing me a bunch of stuff I didn't know you could do. Apparently, you can eventually fire missiles at like the fish. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
Okay. Torpedoes?
Poor little
Interesting.
dudes.
Not the nice ones, only the mean ones.
It's an early access game. The game is still in development. Many things that have been planned are still being discussed and not in the game yet. Cool. I'm happy this is available for sale.
Is that the other game, or is that Subnautica?
No. Subnautica came out of early release.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay. Yep. I'm gonna go. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take it easy, man.
Have a good
See ya.
week.
You too.